All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about a book that's, well, pretty much required reading in the software world. Robert C. Martin's Clean Code. We're going to dig into the philosophy behind it, what it really means to write software that doesn't just work now, but actually lasts. Code that people can understand, maintain, and build on for years and years. So, does this look familiar? I bet it does. You start a new project, and you are just flying. Productivity is through the roof. But then something happens. A few months in, everything slows down to a crawl. Every new feature, every little change feels like you're wading through thick mud. So what's going on? Why does this happen, like, every time? Well, the book has a one-word answer for you: mess. And here's the core idea of the book. This mess isn't just about code looking ugly or something. No, it has a real, tangible cost. A cost that just keeps growing and growing until it can literally bring a project and sometimes a whole team to its knees. I mean, we've all said it, right? I'll just get it working for now, and I'll go back and clean it up later. You breathe that sigh of relief. But then the next feature request comes in, and the next one. The pressure builds, and guess what? Later just never happens. And all those little messes, they start to pile up, kind of like dust bunnies in the corner of your codebase. And this is where the really vicious cycle kicks in. The code gets so tangled up that making one tiny change over here breaks three other things over there. It's a cascade of failures. So what happens? Developers get scared. They become afraid to touch anything. And productivity just tanks. Because a task that should take an hour now takes days of careful, painful untangling. Sooner or later, the team just hits a wall. They throw their hands up and basically declare bankruptcy on the entire code base. They go to management and say, we can't work with this anymore. We need to do a complete rewrite. And management, who's been watching productivity fall off a cliff, they usually agree. This is what you'd call the grand redesign in the sky. It's this last-ditch, super expensive gamble. And the worst part? A lot of the time, it just kicks off the exact same cycle all over again. Okay, so if messy code is the disease, what's the cure? What do we even mean when we say clean code? Well, to figure that out, the book goes and asks some of the absolute legends of the industry. And first up, you've got the inventor of C++ himself, Bjarne Stroustrup. Now, his perspective is really interesting because it's all about performance and being direct, which makes his take on clean really powerful. He says, I like my code to be elegant and efficient. Clean code does one thing well. The key words there are one thing. It's all about focus. Clean code isn't trying to be flashy or clever or do a million things at once. Nope. It has one job, a single, clear purpose, and it does that job really, really well. Now, building on that same idea, we get a slightly different angle from Ward Cunningham, the guy who invented the wiki and was a huge part of the Agile movement. His definition isn't so much about machine performance, it's more about the human experience of reading the code. He says, you know you are working on clean code when each routine you read turns out to be pretty much what you expected. This is just a brilliant way of describing what we call the principle of least surprise, right? Clean code is readable, it's intuitive. You look at a function and it does exactly what you thought it would do. There are no weird side effects or hidden tricks. You don't have to be a detective to figure it out, which makes everything so much easier to maintain. Okay, so all this high-level philosophy is great, but how do we actually do it? How do we put this stuff into practice? Well, the good news is the book breaks it all down into some really simple, actionable rules that can make a huge difference right away. And rule number one is the big one. It's the foundation of everything. Functions should be small, and they should do one thing. Seriously, if you take nothing else away, remember this. Why? Because small, focused functions are a breeze to name, they're super easy to understand, and they're simple to test. If you look at a function and think it does this, and also that, it's too big. Break it up. And speaking of naming things, this is so important. Your names have to reveal your intent. Just look at this example. On the left, you have a method called getThem. What does that even mean? Get what? You have no idea. You have to go and read the entire function to figure it out. But look at the one on the right. Get flagged cells. Bam! You instantly know exactly what it does without reading a single line of the code inside. That is what self-documenting code looks like. So Kent Beck gave us this fantastic prioritized checklist for writing simple, clean code. And the order here is really, really important. Number one, it has to work. All the tests have to pass, no exceptions. Number two, get rid of duplication. That copy-paste habit is the root of so much evil in software. Then, and only then, do you worry about making sure it's expressive and that you've minimized all the moving parts. All right, so you've written some clean code. Awesome. But now, how do you keep it clean? Because we all know that's the hard part. Well, the book has this one simple, incredibly powerful metaphor for this, and it might be the most famous idea in the whole book. It's called the Boy Scout rule. Leave the campground cleaner than you found it. That's it. It's that simple. It means every time you go into a piece of code, whether you're fixing a bug or adding a tiny feature, you just make one small improvement. It could be renaming a variable to be clearer, or breaking up a function that's a little too long, or even just fixing a comment that's out of date. Just one small thing. And this gets to a really deep point, which is that writing clean code isn't something you do once and then you're done. It's not a destination. It's a continuous process. It's constant care and attention. Think about it. If every single developer on the team makes one tiny improvement with every single commit, how could the codebase possibly get worse? It can't. It's this collective, ongoing responsibility that keeps the whole system healthy. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important idea in the whole book. Because following these rules, it's not just about learning a few techniques, it's about a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about seeing yourself as a professional craftsman. Look, the book makes a really bold claim here. It says that writing messy code is flat out unprofessional. Saying I had to rush to meet a deadline is not a good excuse for leaving a mess that's going to slow down every single person who has to touch that code after you. A professional takes responsibility for the quality of their work. And in our world, in software, that quality is the cleanliness of the code. Because at the end of the day, the code we write isn't just for the computer. It's a form of communication. It's a story we're telling to the next developer who comes along. So I'll leave you with this question. What kind of story will your code tell? Will it be a clear, compelling story that's a joy to read and build upon? Or is it going to be a tangled, confusing mystery that nobody can ever solve? That choice is up to us.